Hello everyone, my name is Caroline Corte. I'm a mine consult engineer for Datamine Australia, and today I'll be taking you through some of the new features of EPS version 3. Please keep sending your questions throughout the presentation, and then at the end of this webinar I'll answer them. If I don't have time to answer all your questions, I'll send you back an email with the answers. So, okay, welcome to EPS version 3 webinar. So this is EPS version 3, the new features that we're going to be showing today. These are not all the features that are new, but these will be able to cover a majority of them. So we have split views, dashboard, pivot table, a few changes on what we can do on a calendar and also in a reporting calendar. A few new reporting fields and a few other ways to add internal fields. The resource chart, there's a few changes in there, and work package. We already had the work package in other versions, but there's a few changes and I'm just going to take you through that. And also we have the solver, so is our optimizer tool that replace the blend process. So first one we're going to be showing to you is split views. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is split views. The overall look of EPS version 3 didn't change much from version 2. It's exactly the same ribbons. But now, for example, in the View tab, if I click on a schedule and I keep clicking, you can actually open different tabs with the schedule. And in here, you can actually modify, for example, if I have a different view, login, you can actually have a different views of your schedule, so it allows you to have different views. So I can be looking one tab at the decline and the development, and the other tab I can be looking at the stopping. And I can change the filters, I can change just the zone of the schedule that I'm looking at, and then I can have that in the different views. It's quite handy if you want to compare different portions of your schedules at the same time. Other tool you can do with this is in the View tab also, you can actually split the view itself, so I can go horizontal and I can see a schedule. You can see different portions of your schedule in the same view. You can also have that horizontal or vertical, whatever feels better to look. Other thing you can do on your schedule is actually have either inverted or double your chart view or your report view. For example, if I go here and go taskbar chart, I can have multiple instances of the chart. So if I want to go in the bottom of the schedule and look for something, and then I can actually compare both of them. Can also be done with the report. So going back to my normal view, just going to go back to the development view, apply, close. So that was split views. Second item we got is dashboard. So on our dashboard is in the same tab as View tab, and you can actually click on the dashboard. But it does, I already have a pre-set up dashboard in here. You can add item, but just click on add item, and that's your dashboard. You right click and you can edit item. You can put the title. You can choose which kind of chart you want to use. Just go quickly and put dates. And on our X, you can set up the time frame that you want your chart to show, so like one every month. And here I'm just gonna go monotons, adding one field. You actually can add multiple fields if you would like. Just for the demonstration, I'll show this one. So that's your chart. You can also edit. You just go to right-click Chart Designer, and you can modify your axes, colors. There is a few properties, a few options. In this stage, you can still change your chart option. And then, yeah, that's it for chart. If you want, you can just keep, I'm just going to delete this one, remove this item. And you actually can keep clicking on the dashboard and have multiple dashboards. So I actually can have different dashboards showing for me. So there's some building. So once you save this file and open again, your dashboards could be saved like this. So you can have multiple ones. And your schedule. If you modify your schedule, the only thing you need to do is actually go here and click on refresh, and all your charts going to be updated. To not have to send your schedule all the way to Excel and to be able to create a chart, you can go straight and use in EPS. Just an example, this is the stockpile. I have actually 3 fields, stockpile 1, 2, and dump. So that you can see an example of multiple fields being used. So yeah, that's our charts. Other item, pivot table. So just close this up. And well, pivot table is also on the view tab, and there we go, pivot table. You can have multiple pivot tables open again, and I will just show the different ones that I have. The way that the pivot table works is very similar to Excel. You just drag and drop. So I have here block type, year by year, my tons. I can go on a code field and change by activity, for example, and you can see that change for you on your pivot. You can also select this item and just go to the chart and actually create a chart with it. Also very handy if you actually scheduling and just have a feel of how your KPIs are looking and where things going. So yeah, pivot table is very handy. Just closing up and going back. Now we're going through calendar. So there's a few things new on calendar. You can actually set up a downtime codes. So what it does is have different colors for different downtimes. And you create your calendars, applying the detailed downtime with that code. And for example, FIFO, just have a fly in, fly out days. And when you go to and actually apply that calendar, you can see that color showing for you. So before you not be able to see what is happening, you're just going to see a gap on your schedule. But now with the codes, it becomes quite clear that there is something happening on your schedule, and that's to do with a downtime that you set up on your schedule. Reporting calendar. Going back to project settings, calendar, reporting calendar. So the general reporting calendar would be something more like this. You set up a start date, end date, give you a label, and it's by period. But now you can also create a calendar, a reporting calendar based on quantity. So for example, by meters. So I have every 300 meters, for example. So if I go and close and I just apply, I'm just gonna take that calendar off. If if I come here and apply the calendar by quantity, so I just have one created. I'm using a unit by meters in the middle tier. Go OK, and what you see is every 300 meters is creating a report. So yeah, that's a very different way that we allowing us to create a calendar by quantity. Another option, new reporting fields. So let me just put it back, this example, and revert to the short-term tab. So for example, this fly-in fly-out day, I have a few hours of downtime. Now what we have is a few other fields that actually can report effective non-work time or ineffective work time. So now you can see that the days that I have, there is 5 hours of downtime. That is to do with that gap on my schedule. So that's the two new fields. There is also some related to downtime fields. So that's just the new fields in case you're using also calendars. And internal fields. So the internal fields is an option now that you have to create fields on the summary fields. So if I go total tons, I can actually straight in here create an expression. For example, my total tons, if I have two fields already set up, so I have tons or ton waste, I can actually just go here and sum them up. And you create a new field that is total tons. You can use other expressions, and there is more operators that can be used. Let's see another option, resource chart. Resource chart, I'm just going to change my view to my resources. So in here you have a schedule, and you can see my jumbo. If I click on that plus sign on the jumbo, what you can see is all the activities that jumbo going to be doing. And what you can see is each single activity, when it's happening, and what's their sequence. Next one, work package. So there is a few things new in work package, but we thought we would put in here just to make sure that people know what work packages are. So I'm just gonna go and get my view back. And just have back to my normal calendar. Here, so if I want to add a work package, I just go in Tools, Generate Work Package Tasks, and there is nothing new up to here. What it is new is there is a new options we can generate these work packages. For example, replace each primary task with a work package. I'm just going to show, for example, this one for you guys to have an idea what work package does. So I'm creating one work package that's related with cable bolt. So I have a drill, install, grout, and tension. So when I go generate, and because I have filters on, it doesn't show for me, but I actually can quickly see in here what I did. So it creates some derived activities from that decline. So you have drilling, install, grout, and tension. And I can send some rules of how these items look like. It's a good tool if you want to just put activities that are always repeated throughout your schedule. Instead of manually add them here, you just create a work package and you just with one click add them all in here. So So the next item is the last one. It's actually Solver, our optimizing tool. So for Solver, you go again Tools. The Solver replaced a blend option, and what it is now, Solver is a mix between our resource leveling and the blend tool. So both add together and quite a few nice features if you want to optimize your schedule. With EPS Solver, you can actually have an option to select the different intervals that you want your schedule to be done. For example, I can be every week. I want the detail of achieving my targets every single week, and then I can modify that for each month after 12 periods. So I can actually select these in different ways. So I can have more definition on the beginning of a schedule and then just go and create less definition as you go later on your mind life. Targets, you can have multiple targets, but also you can prioritize them. And how you do that is actually based on a dollar amount. How you do is you can create a penalty for below or above target. And what I do is, as you can see for the value meters, I create different values for if it goes below target or above target. So my higher penalty in this case is when it goes above target and not as much as when you go below. You can also set up an objective, and that objective can be using like a priority or optimization of your target. For example, I have here, I want to maximize my goal and minimize my TKM. And the way I have in here is they'll maximize my goal. They have a higher weight than my TKM. So I'd rather have make sure that the algorithm follow the gold ounces instead of my TKM, but there is some objectives. EPS Solver now have also option to optimize your schedule by minimum production. So for example, you can use this in case you're doing, for example, raise bores, and you want to do all the raise bore holes one after the other, maybe because you have a contract coming on site specific for that job. So now you can actually schedule that automatic. So you make sure that you just start activity once you have 3 or 4 holes before you actually mobilize a contractor to your site to do that job. So that's one of the tools that we have in EPS Solver. The other option is also operation rules. So what you do, you first create a mining unit, for example, by zone. So you can create zone A, B, C. And what the operation rules does is you can actually set up your equipment to just work within that units. And you can say, well, you can actually move when the unit is complete, or you can move if the unit is not incomplete. I can actually set up as a zone, for example. You can set up an activity that you wanted that to do. So if I'm working with jumbos, maybe I just wanted the value meters. And you can actually maybe put some rules related with utilization. So you just move that equipment once the utilization drops, or limit travel, the percentage of your available hours, and also maximize or minimize moves. So you can say just 2 moves per day. And you can also create a route where you actually allow the equipment to go. So that's a very handy tool if you want to avoid equipment moving all over the mine and just having your resources close to certain areas. So yeah, that's Solver. You can also tune in some parameters and just click Solver and that's done. So that's EPS Solver. For me, that would be all. Now, questions. Okay, I have first question. It's actually a very good one. Can I have EPS version 3 and version 2 on my computer? Actually, you can't. You actually have to uninstall version 2 if you want to install version 3. And the way it works is if you have a project saved on version 2, you can definitely open on version 3. But if you want to save version 3 and be able to open version 2, you actually have to save as, save as, and then save in Exchange file version 2.24. So you have to have installed at least a version 2.24 or above to be able to open the files that you save in this version from version 3. What's going to happen is if you use some of the features that are specific for version 3, for example, dashboards or pivot tables, you're not going to have open in version 2, you're just going to have your project. But if you just need to have some visualizing your data, you're still going to be able to use all the features on version 2 in your schedule. Okay. All right, so Solver is actually an add-on to your to EPS. So if you want to have the Solver, you actually have to, it has a cost associated to it. It's the same way that you have, for example, EPS in Touch. It's an add-on to your license. Question, if I have version 2, do I get a discount on EPS version 3? Alright, actually, you don't need to buy a license for version 3 if you already have version 2. If you are under the maintenance, you just have to upgrade to version 3. So if you are interested in having version 3 on your site and you already have version 2, just contact us through our support website and we can arrange it to give you the license. So I got another question is, if I cannot have version 3 version on my computer, why then upgrade to version 3? Well, if you're not interested in some of the features that I show you today, fair enough, I'll not update to version 3, but just be mindful that we are in the process of releasing Studio Underground version 2. Right now we have released version 1 already. So version 2, the intention is the same process that we have in Studio 5DP with that workload set up to create shapes and links and export to EPS. Studio Underground also going to be doing that. And the only difference is you're only going to be able to export from Studio Underground version 2 to EPS version 3. The main difference between Studio Underground, why they actually have to just be able to link to version 3 is because in Studio Underground version 2, you don't necessarily need to have a specific field to connect to EPS. EPS now actually have the option to define a different field. So what I mean by that is, I go in project setting and advanced. So if I go here and see the task spatial ID, generally we connect with this ID, but now version 3 actually allows you to connect with any attribute that you have your strings. So you can actually choose another attribute and link to your schedule. So that's also a new feature for EPS version 3. Okay, what is the gray line on the bottom of the tasks? Okay, so what you see here, I think that's believed to be the gray line. That actually is a baseline. Let me go in Tools, sorry. So in Tools, you can see that I have that 5th of February. Basically, what the baseline does, I can actually schedule, and once I finish, I'm happy with my schedule, I can just come here and create a baseline, and that's kind of a mark where originally your schedule was. So if I actually change and move a task, that is still marking where my original schedule was. So it's a handy tool to see what is the difference between one schedule and the other. You can have, if you're still playing and changing here and there to see what's changed on your schedule, you can just mark another baseline and then see the difference, how it goes. Or also just have an idea what was the original, how was your original schedule. So it's a good way to track what are the changes on your project. How do I get the blue column to show? I believe this is the blue column that you guys mentioned. This is just a summary column. And you just have to go to the timeline, and that's the summary column. So I have one every week. So every week I have the summary of the week. But you can create, 2 every week. So what it does, you create every 2 weeks a summary. You have an option to change that for every month, every year. So for example, if you're dealing with a more long-term planning schedule, you can actually put every quarter or every year. Changes on InTouch. Well, not really. So if you go InTouch and just open up, it's still the same. It comes with InTouch as an add-on also. You can still add that on to you. It's still the same. I would say it's a bit different. The way you look is still like looking with the ribbons, the same way Studio Underground looks like, but it's the same. It's the same feature that we have before. I can't say there is anything new to it. It's just the way it looks. It's similar to Studio Underground or Studio RM. So yeah, I will wrap it up. If I didn't answer your question, I will just send an email afterwards. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So if you guys have more questions, just go to the dataminesoftware.com website. So you just go Datamine, and you actually go just to support tab, and you can actually log a case or just actually ask a question. If you need to help with upgrading to version 3, also just log a case and we will contact you and arrange you. Or if you already have an access to our website, you just go to the downloads web page. This is what's gonna open, and then you can just go EPS schedule products, and then that's EPS. So when you click in there, it opened this tab, so you can actually download either version 3, you can still download version 2 from the same area. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for your time, and catch you later. Thank you.